All right, so the recording has started, inshallah. So I share the link in the chat room. Chat room, where's the chat room? So that is the link for the YouTube. And this one is for the Facebook. All right. Some channels I passworded them. I put password on someone. Most especially the Falsafa Islamia group. I put it was passworded, but very soon I will remove the password so it will be freely available for everyone. Okay, is there any question from anyone? Can you hear me clearly? Is my voice clear? Is my voice clear? Can you hear me? Okay. Then, so those are the few information that I think are necessary for now. And with the class, so we start right from the beginning of the book. So can you see the book on the screen? Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa bihi nasta'in. Alhamdulillah. يؤتي الحكمة من يشاء ومن يؤتى الحكمة فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين محمد الذي بعثه الله رحمة للعالمين في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين فأخرجه من ظلمة الشك إلى نور اليقين وأرشدهم إلى الحق وهداهم إلى صراط مستقيم. وبعد يقول المؤلف فهذه دراسات في الفلسفة تشتمل على التعريف بها في مراحلها المختلفة. So this compilation of studies in philosophy, it comprises various definitions that has been given to the subject in all the stages and eras. وَبَيَانَ سُمَّاتِهَا فِي كُلِّ مَرْحَلَةٍ. So this also explains the names that is given to the subject in each marhala, in each state, whether it was philosophy, or it was hikmah, or it was knowledge, or it was, what were the names, sumatuha. So what were the concept of the philosophy at each era that it has passed through. So the book explains about it. وذكر أشهر مفكريها وذكر أشهر مفكريها مع شيء من التفصيل فيما يتعلق بالفلسفة اليونانية. So the book also explains the famous thinkers of philosophy with in detail and in connection with Greek philosophy. كما تشتمل على الفلسفة الإسلامية في نشأتها وتطورها وتأثرها بنظم الإسلام. It also comprises of what we call Islamic philosophy, the development of Islamic philosophy, the evolvement of Islamic philosophy, and the way that Islamic philosophy was influenced by Islamic system of study, by Islamic religion. So in other words also, وَبِالْفَلْسَفَاتِ الْقَدِيمَةِ الَّتِي سَبَقَتْهَا, it also explains the influence of the previous and ancient philosophies on Islamic philosophy, most especially الفلسفة اليونانية مع ترجمة لأشهر الفلاسفة المسلمين. So most especially the Greek philosophy that was reintroduced and interpreted and translated by Muslim philosophers. وَبَيَانُ مَنَاهِجُهُمْ وَصِفَاتُهُمْ الْمُشْتَرَكَةِ. So this compilation of this Dirasat al-Falsafiyya, it also talks about the explanation of the unanimous and general attributes and methodologies that were used by Muslim philosophers in their study. وَعَرِضٌ لِأَهَمِّ آرَائِهِمْ وَمَدَى تَأَثُرِهِمْ فِيهَا بِغَيْرِهِمْ مِنَ الْفَلَاسِفَةِ. The book also explains the general opinions of these philosophers and the length and the influences that they get from other foreign philosophers. وَقَدْ تَوَخَّيْنَا فِيهَا التَّرْكِيزَ فِي الْمَادَةِ وَالْوُضُوحِ فِي الْأَرْضِ حَتَّى تَكُونُ سَهْلَةُ الْمَنَالِ بَعِيدَةٌ عَنِ التَّعْقِيدِ وَالْغُمُوضِ. وأملنا أن تكون هذه الدراسات وسيلة يستعين بها طلاب الفلسفة على قراءات أكثر. So we توخينا فيها التركيز في المادة. In this compilation, in this book, we concentrated on the subject particularly, and we clarified and explained it clearly by using very simple languages and words so that it will be sahlatul manan. It will be easy to understand. Ba'idatun an at-ta'kid wal ghumud, and it will be void, and it will not be ambiguous, and it will not be difficult for people to understand. وأمرنا أن تكون هذه الدراسات وسيلة يستعين بها الطلاب. So we hope that this dirasat, this compilation and studies in philosophy, will be a means and a factor that will assist students of philosophy to read more and study more in philosophy. وَمُطَالَعَاتٌ أَكْثَرَ أَوْسَعٌ وَأَعْمَقٌ. We hope and believe that this compilation will assist students of philosophy to read more and to read wider and deeper in philosophy, حتى يصلوا حاضرهم بماضي أسلافهم من حكماء المسلمين, so that they will be able to connect their present lifetime to the past time of the previous philosophers, such as the Muslim thinkers, fil-bahthi wa-ta'qib. Wal-intifa'u bi-ni'matil aqli. So we also hope that the book is going to be a benefit and advantage for them to understand the ni'matil aql, the importance and the value of rationality. وَبِذَا يَصِلُونَ إِلَى الْحَقِّ وَالْخَيْرِ وَالْجَمَالِ. So, and as such, it will allow them to arrive at the truth and what is good and what is beautiful for them in their study. So, وَاللَّهُ نَسْأَلُ أَنْ يُمِدَّنَا بِعَوْنِهِ وَأَنْ يُسَدِّدَ خُطَانَا نَحْوَ الْخَيْرِ. So we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yumiddana bi'awnihi, supports us with his gives us his support in this study, Okay, we pray, meaning to say that we pray for Allah's support in this study, and we ask Him, and you said the khutana, to guide our steps in the explanations, so that in nahwa al-khair, so that we'll be guided and directed towards the best, inshallah. So innahu ni'mal aun wa minhu tawfiq wa sadad. So Allah is the best assist that can assist us, wa minhu tawfiq wa sadad. And we seek right guidance and appropriateness from Him alone. So this is the introduction given by the two authors, the two authors who are the major authors of the book. Now, the introduction, the general introduction to philosophy, according to the authors. So why do we need philosophy? And when is the time that we say that we start philosophy? What are the things that we need to see and that will enable us to say that such and such and so are actually studying philosophy, or they are engaged in the study of philosophy? So this is what the Tamohid is all about. The basic and general introduction to why philosophy came and when do man start philosophizing. So this is the concept here. عندما وجد الإنسان على ظهر الأرض رأى هذا العالم الذي يحيط به وشاهد الأرض بمائها وحيوانها ونباتها وجمادها والسماء وما فيها من شمس تضيء وقمر ينير وكواكب تتلألأ في الظلام وأدرك ما في بيئته من رياح وأمطار وما يتعاقب عليه ليل ونهار رأى أناسا يوجدون ثم يموتون وشاهد أنواعا شتى من الحيوان والنبات منها ما ينفع ومنها ما يضر وأحداثا من الحياة تقع كل يوم في محيطه أو في محيطه منها ما يسعده ومنها ما يؤدي إلى شقائه. عندما وجد الإنسان على ظهر الأرض, when man found himself upon the earth, عندما وجد الإنسان نفسه على ظهر الأرض, when man found himself on the surface of the earth, when man discovered himself living on the earth, عندما وجد الإنسان يعني عندما خلق الإنسان يعني عندما جعل الإنسان, when man was created upon the soil, to live upon the soil, when man was sent upon the soil, okay, وَقُلْنَا اهْبِطُوا جَمِيعًا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا, okay, فَإِمَّا بَعْدُكُمْ لِبَعْدٍ عَدُوٌّ. So, and we said, all of you, both of you, اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا, all of you, you descend from the paradise, from the Garden of Eden, go you onto the surface of the earth. Okay, now, when man was placed and found himself on the surface of the earth, رَأَى هَذَا الْعَالَمَ الَّذِي يُحِيطُ بِهِ. So he discovered the universe and the environment and everything around him. رَأَى هذا العالم. So he came to realize this world, الذي يحيط به, that surrounds him. وشاهد الأرض بمائها. So he came to the soil, he came to the heart to see, he saw the water, how the water gushes from the heart. وحيوانها. He saw the animals all around, domestic animals and non-domestic animals. وَنَبَاتَهَا. He saw the plants, he saw the trees, he saw the flowers, he saw everything. وَجَمَادَهَا. He saw all the other objects, both living and non-living organisms. وَالسَّمَاءَ. He also looked up and saw the heavens and the firmament. وَمَا فِيهَا. And everything that is there on the heaven. Min shamsin today. He saw the shining and brightening sun. وَقَمَرٍ يُنِيرٍ. He saw the lightning moon. وَكَوَاكِبٍ. He saw the stars تَتَلَأْلَهُ فِي الظَّلَامِ, that glow in the darkness. وَأَدْرَكَ مَا فِي بَيْئَتِهِ. So he saw everything in his society. مِنْ رِيَاهٍ وَأَمْطَارٍ. He saw the breeze, the wind, the rain. He saw the rain and everything. وَمَا يَتَعَاقَبُ عَلَيْهِ. He saw the alternation and the changes of the days and the nights. مَا يَتَعَاقَبُ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ لَيْلٍ وَنَهَارٍ. He saw how the night becomes the day and how the day becomes the night. رَأَى أُنَاسًا. He saw around him some people, they were given birth to from baby, they grow up to be adult, then they grow up to be old. يُوجَدُونَ. They live for some time. ثُمَّ يَمُوتُونَ. And sometime later, they die. شَاهَدَ أَنْوَاءً شَتَّى مِنَ الْحَيَوَانِ وَالنَّبَاتِ. So he saw various kinds of animals and plants around him. مِنْهَا مَا يَنْفَعُ وَمِنْهَا مَا يَضُرُّ. Some of them are beneficial, they are edible, they are good, and some of them are yadurru. Some of them are poisonous, they are not edible. وَأَحْدَاثًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ تَقَعُ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ فِي مَهِيتِهِ. And he also noticed a lot of accidents and incidents, historical evidences that happens in life. تَقَعُ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ. That happens every time, every day. فِي مَهِيتِهِ. مَهِيتِهِ بِمَعنَى فِي مَكَانِهِ. At his place where he stays. مِنْهَا مَا يُسْعِدُهُ. There are some incidents that makes him happy. وَمِنْهَا مَا يُؤَدِّي إِلَى شَقَائِهِ. And there are some incidents that causes him his happiness, that make him sad. So these are the things that man see around him all the time. فَأَثَارَ ذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ فِي نَفْسِهِ الدَّهْشَةَ وَالْإِسْتِغْرَابَ. So all this that he see around him was so strange. So it caused a lot of confusion. Okay, he was confused. وَاسْتِغْرَابَ. He was astonished. وَحَاوَلَ أَنْ يَتَعَرَّفَ عِلَّةَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. So that was the reason why man wanted to know the cause of everything. حَاوَلَ أَنْ يَتَعَرَّفَ إِلَّةَ. إِلَّةَ بِمَعنَى بِدَايَةَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. So man wanted to know the beginning, the source, the foundation of everything. وَمَصْدَرُهُ الَّذِي نَشَأَ مِنْهُ. And the source and foundation from which everything evolved from. وَمَصِيرُهُ الَّذِي يَؤُولُ إِلَيْهِ. Now, he saw some animals yesterday. Now, today they were killed. He saw some people living years ago. Now they are buried under the soil. He saw some plants growing. Now they are withered and they are dried. He saw yesterday it was raining. Now today it is dry season. There's no more rain. It was in the night, it was moon. Now in the day, it is sun. Now here there is, he saw some stars. So now he wants to see, Masiru, what is the illa of kulli shay, ma masdaru kulli shay, wa ma masiru hadhihi al-ashya. So what is the cause of everything? What is the foundation and source of all of them? Wa masirahu alladhi ya'ulu ilayhi. And what is the end? What is going to be the end of everything? وَعِلَاقَةُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ بِغَيْرِهِ. Man also wants to understand the connection and relationship of things to each other. What is the connection of man to the animals? What is the connection of animals to the plants? How does man relate with the environment in which he found himself? What are the benefits? What are the usages of everything around man? وَرَغِبَ فِي الْوُقُوفِ عَلَى حَقِيقَةِ الْأَشْيَاءِ. So man desires to study في وقوف يعني في الدراسة. So he desires to study حقيقة الأشياء, the reality of everything, التي تحيط به, that is surrounding him. So فهكذا, so that was the time أخذ يفكر في ملكوت السماوات والأرض ويسأل نفسه لماذا كان هذا هكذا ولم يكن هكذا ومن أين وجد وإلى أين يسير. So that was when man أخذ بمعنى بدأ. So that was when man started يفكر, to think في ملكوت السماوات والأرض, about the kingdom and the dominion of the heavens and the earth, about the creation of the firmament, the creation of the heaven, the creation of everything, the stars, the moon, the sun, and the birds that fly in there, and also the creation of the earth, the man, the animals, the plants, the living organisms and non-living organisms. وَيَسْأَلُ نَفْسَهُ, man started to query himself, to ask himself internally and externally. Like number one, he asked himself, لماذا كان هكذا ولم يكن هكذا? How are these things in this arrangement? Why are they not in so arrangement? Now, why are other animals working on their 4 legs? Why are they not working on 2 legs like human beings? Why are human beings working on 2 legs and not working on 4 legs like other human beings? Okay? لماذا كان الأشياء هذا هكذا ولماذا لم يكن هكذا? Why are plants growing upward? Why not growing downward? Why do we have Shamsu in the night? Why not in the Nahar? Why do we have Shamsu in the Nahar? Why not in the lane? Why do we have Qamar in the lane? Why not in the Nahar? Why can't both of them join together and come together at the same time, so that we have the combination of Ashamsu wal Qamar wal Nujum fi anin wahidin at the same time? So why do they come at different times? And again, when the Qamar comes, why does it start from small and grows larger until when it is 13, 14, 15, then it becomes a full moon? Why not coming full moon at the beginning? Okay, why does it come smaller, then grows bigger, and after 15, 16, 17, it grows shrinkers and it shrinks again? Why is it like that? وَمِنْ أَيْنَ وُجِدَ? What is the source and where is the source of this? مِنْ أَيْنَ وُجِدَ? From where did these things come from? وَإِلَّا أَيْنَ يَسِيرُ? And to where? What is the end of all these things? So هذه هي التساؤلات الداخلية التي يسأل الإنسان نفسه في بداية حياته عندما وجد نفسه موجودا على ظهر الأرض. So these are various questions that occur to man when he found himself on the surface of the earth. ثم أخذ يحاول الإجابة عن هذه الأسئلة. Now, after asking all these questions variously, then man started to try some answers and responses to the questions that he has created for himself. So he tries to give answer according to his experiences, and according to his civilization and education. And at that particular time. So now the question is, when did philosophy start? Okay, when did man start the activity of philosophy? So now, منذ أن بدأ الإنسان هذه المحاولة. Since the time man started asking about these various questions, قيل عنه إنه يتفلسف. So it was said that man was philosophizing. So all these questions, لماذا كان هذا هكذا ولم يكن غيره ومن أين وجد وإلى أين يسير, okay, and also finding an answer to others. All this attempt is what we call philosophizing. Okay, منذ أن بدأ الإنسان هذه المحاولة قيل عنه إنه يتفلسف. So since the time man started asking this question, attempting an answer to those questions, it was said that man was philosophizing. And the habit of philosophizing is what is called al-falsafatu. وَسُمِيَتْ هَذِهِ الْمُحَاوَلَةِ. To the attempt, the habit, to the trying to know, so that is what we call al-falsafa. Okay, so by this, philosophizing is an activity, the habit of asking questions and trying an answer to the question that we raise. So philosophy is the activity of philosophizing, of asking and giving answer, question and answer. So that is what brought up what philosophizing and al-falsafa is. So by this, وعلى ذلك فمعنى الفلسفة بوجه عام هو البحث في حقائق الأشياء، okay، وعللها وغاياتها وعلاقة بعضها ببعض. So by this, generally, okay، وعلى ذلك فمعنى الفلسفة بوجه عام. Based on the previous explanation and clarification, the general meaning of philosophy is al-bahthu fi haqa'iq al-ashya. Al-bahthu here yani dirasatu haqa'iq al-ashya. The study of reality of things. The search about the source and reality of things. Wa illa laha, the search and the study about the cause of things, وَغَايَاتُهَا, the study of the purpose of things, وَإِلَاقَةُ بَعْضِهَا بِبَعْضٍ, and the study about the connection and relationship of one thing to the other. So this is what we call philosophy. Okay, we can see there are several things that are combined into what we call philosophy. Number one, حَقَائِقُ الْأَشْيَاء. What is the reality of things? What is the truth, the true aspect of things? Number two, ilal, the cause of things, wagayatuha, the purpose of things, wa ilaqatuha, and the connection and relationship of one thing to the other. So that is what we call general philosophy, general meaning and interpretation of philosophy. So by this, والتفلسف على هذا المعنى حظ مشترك. Okay, والتفلسف على هذا المعنى حظ مشترك بين جميع الناس. So therefore, philosophizing in this general meaning, in this broad meaning, it is hazzun mushtarakun bayna jami'in nas. It is the property, it is the general property of everyone. We are here. So therefore, based on the previous explanation, philosophizing, the act of philosophizing generally is it is a general property and ownership of everyone, of every human being. فكل إنسان يفكر في الكون ويحاول تفسيره وتعليل أحداثه وكل إنسان ينظر إلى الحياة نظرته الخاصة ويلتمس تفسيرها وتعليلها. So by this, everyone has a right يفكر في الكون, to think about the creation, ويحاول تفسيره وتعليل أحداثه. Everyone could attempt and try to give a meaning to the creation, وتعليل أحداثه, and to suggest a cause and the origin and sources of the incidents that happen in this creation, in life. وكل إنسان ينظر إلى الحياة. So everyone has a right ينظر يعني يدرس, to study life نظرته الخاصة, individually and specifically, ويلتمس تفسيرها وتعليلها, and to come to a specific understanding of the meaning and analysis of the creation according to his own understanding. So now, by that standard, tafalsufu is milikul bashari amatan, is the ownership and property of everyone. So no one can claim the ownership, the sole ownership of what we call philosophy, because it is an activity of thinking. Okay, and thinking, that is what we call an nutku in mantik, and that is what we call aqliya, rationalism. Okay, rationality, rationalizing something. Okay, thinking about things, looking at things intellectually and rationally. So this is the property of every human being. Now, the question here is, now, can we say that everyone is a philosopher? Because based on this point now we say, وَالتَّفَلْسُفُ عَلَى هَذَا الْمَعْنَى حَزٌّ مُشْتَرَكٌ بَيْنَ جَمِيعِ النَّاسِ. So based on this interpretation and meaning, philosophy is the general property of every mankind. Now the question is, هل لنا من أجل ذلك أن نصف كل إنسان بأنه فيلسوف? So do we have a right, based on the previous interpretation, to say that every mankind is a philosopher? Can we say that everyone is a philosopher? Now, if it is only based on thinking, asking questions, giving an answer individually, without clearing, without the option of whether the answer is right or not, whether it is good or bad. So if we're not taking any other thing into consideration, if we are taking at-tafalsufu only to at-tasaulat wal muhawalat, then we are going to believe that every human being is a mutafalsifu, is a philosopher. So every human being will become a philosopher. Okay, so with that, every human being is a philosopher within the frame of at-tasaulat wa al-muhawalat. Okay, so by this, na'am, ijaba for the question is, na'am, kana yumkinu dhalika law lam yustalah al-falasifa ala khilafi dhalik. فقد اصطلحوا على أنه كلمة فيلسوف لا تطلق إطلاقا عاما على كل من يفكر ويتدبر ويحاول أن يتعرف حقيقة بعض الأشياء. Yes, based on that simple interpretation and meaning of philosophy, yes, it is possible to say that every mankind is a philosopher. Are we here? كان يمكن ذلك. That was possible. Okay? And it was possible to say that everyone who thinks, who is a human being, is a philosopher by birth. But if we think again to the concept of philosophy according to the interpretation and explanation of philosophers, then we will say that not every human being is a philosopher. Okay? Because if لو لم يصطلح الفلاسفة على خلاف ذلك, if the philosophers have no objection, if they have no other interpretation, then we will say كان يمكن أن يكون جميع الناس فيلسوف. If there is no objection from all the philosophers, if there is no other interpretation from the philosophers, then we will say it is true that everyone is a philosopher. But now we have a different concept of philosophy according to the philosophers. فقد اصطلحوا على أن كلمة فيلسوف لا تطلق إطلاقا عاما على كل من يفكر ويتدبر. So the philosophers have said that, okay, they have explained that the word philosopher cannot be used generally for everyone who thinks or contemplates. Okay? اصطلحوا على أن كلمة فيلسوف لا تطلق إطلاقا عاما على كل من يفكر ويتدبر. So we cannot apply the word philosophy generally to everyone who thinks and contemplates. ويحاول أن يتعرف حقيقة بعض الأشياء. And we cannot use it for everyone who tries to know, who wants to know the reality of some things. No, it is not everyone that is a philosopher. This is according to the specific interpretation of the philosopher. But if we don't take into consideration the istilah al-falasifa, then we will say that everyone who thinks, as we said previously, is a philosopher. By that, every human being will be a philosopher because we think and we find an answer and solution. But coming to the conceptual meaning of the philosophers, not everyone who thinks and contemplates and tries to find an answer to a particular question is a philosopher. Now, who is a philosopher? According to the philosophers. Okay, من هو الفيلسوف? Okay, في اصطلاح الفلاسفة. So by this, the philosophers, they say that إنما الفيلسوف هو من وقف عقله وتفكيره على البحث عن الحقيقة أينما كانت وفي أي مظهر من مظاهر الكون تجلت معتمدا في ذلك كله على التفكير الحر والمنطق الإنساني الخالص. So this is the concept of a philosopher according to the philosophers. They say a true philosopher, innama al-philosoph, a true philosopher is man waqafa aqlahu. Okay, waqafa here, man ista'amala, man istakhdama. Anyone, the people who use their akal, who use their intellection, وتفكيره, and their thinking, على البحث عن الحقيقة, to study the fact. Okay, people who use their intellection and thinking to search and study about the fact, أينما كانت, wherever it is found. That is number one. In addition to that, وفي أي مظهر من مظاهر الكون تجلت. They use their mind to study the fact, is to study any phenomenon, any part of the creation, any phenomena of the creation that appears to them. Okay? And also, when they are doing that and studying that, معتمدا في ذلك كله على التفكير الحر. في ذلك كله, in all their studies, study of reality, study of the phenomena, in all that, معتمدا على التفكير الحر. They rely on free thinking, meaning to say they use their free thinking. Now, ما هو التفكير الحر? That is another question. التفكير الحر هو التفكير المجرد عن علائق الأشياء ووثائق الإنسانية والبيئة. So any thinking that is not influenced by anything, not by father, not by mother, not by brother, not by sister, not by the environment, not by religion, not by tradition, not by culture. That is what we call a free thinking. A thinking that comes directly from the wish and desire of the thinker himself, without being taught by any teacher, without being instructed by any instructor, without being guided by any guide, without any direction from any director. So something that you just start by yourself and thinking by yourself and you come up with by yourself without having any influence of anything on you. That is what we call at-tafkir al-hur. So now, people who use at-tafkir al-hur, free thinking, wal-mantiq al-insani al-khalis, and pure human logic, pure human logic that is not influenced by any other thing. These are the people that we call philosophers. We repeat again. Al-philosoph huwa man waqafa aqlahu, yani man ista'mala aqlahu wa tafkirahu ala al-bahthi, yani ala al-dirasa عن الحقيقة، حقيقة الأشياء أينما كانت. وهو من استعمل عقله وتفكيره في دراسة أي مظهر من مظاهر الكون، معتمدا على التفكير الحر والمنطق الإنساني الخالص في ذلك كله. A philosopher is the one who uses his mind, intellection, and thinking to study the reality of things or of anything, to study any phenomena of the creation by using its free thinking and pure human logic in all that aspect, so that is a person that we call a philosopher. So this is the reason why philosopher, why they said that لا يطلق كلمة الفيلسوف على كل من يفكر ويتدبر. We cannot apply the word philosopher to anyone, just anyone who thinks and contemplates. So the thinking and contemplation must have it must have condition, nature of the thinking. Okay, there are some conditions that must be fulfilled. So if those conditions are fulfilled, then we call that the person a philosopher. But if those conditions were not met, then he is not a philosopher. He could just be an insan, a thinking man. Al-insan al-mutafakkiru. Now, another question here is, because we now said two things or three things. Number one, using of intellection or ration. Okay, now let me type it. Intellection or ration. That is also akal. Intellection. It could also be ration. All right. So using rationality, intellectuality, al-akal. That is point number one. Number two, okay, when using our akal to study those things, we rely on at-tafkir al-hur, free thinking. Number two, we rely on pure human logic. What that means is, we are not talking of animals here. We are not talking of the experiences we got from the creation here. We are not talking of the experience we got from other animals here. We are relying solely and completely only on human intellection, human's freedom of thinking, and human logic alone. So if we find these three, then we call the person who has this as a philosopher. Now the question here is, هل يمكن تفكير الحر? Is there a possibility of free thinking? الذي يكون متجردا عن البيئة الإنسانية وعن وراثة الإنسانية وعن عادات الإنسانية وعن تقاليد الإنسانية وعن ديانة الإنسانية. هل يمكن هذا? Is there a possibility of having a free thinking that is not related and has nothing to do with human's environment, human's culture, human civilization, human religion, human environment, human family? Is it possible? So if it is possible, then we say the person who is able to do that is a true philosopher. لكن هل يمكن ذلك? Is there any possibility of that? Let's go on with the study. So وقد كان الإنسان في أول عهده بالحياة يفكر فيما حوله حتى يستطيع أن يجلب لنفسه النفع ويدفع عنها الضر وحتى يكون أقدر على جمع القوت. القوت يعني الطعام. وتحصيل الضروري من أسباب الحياة، فلم تكن المعرفة حين ذاك يعني في ذلك الوقت تقصد لذاتها أو لإشباع تلك الغريزة المركوزة فيه، وهي غريزة حب الاستطلاع. الاستطلاع هنا القراءة، حب القراءة، حب الدراسة. okay. ولكنه بعد أن دفعت به عجلة الزمن إلى الأمام واستطاع أن يحصل قوته بيسر وسهولة وأن يدفع عنه أسباب الخطر التي تحيط به، أخذ يفكر في الموجودات بقصد التعرف عليها، لا فرارا من الجهل ولا جريا وراء منفعة خاصة، ولكن لأن معرفة الحقيقة أصبحت عنده الغاية التي ليس ورائها غاية أخرى، وهي الغاية التي يريد الحصول عليها لذاتها ولم تعد وسيلة إلى شيء سواها. Now, وقد كان الإنسان في أول عهده بالحياة. In the beginning of human life, okay, في أول عهده بالحياة, in the beginning of life, from inception of life, of human life, كان الإنسان يفكر فيما حوله. Man used to think about his surroundings, about what surrounds him, about his environment. And the reason why he thinks about things in his environment is number one, حتى يستطيع أن يجلب لنفسه النفع, so that he will be able to get benefits for himself. He will be able to benefit himself, protect himself. Okay, حتى يستطيع أن يجلب لنفسه النفع, so that he will be able to pull benefits and security to himself, to defend himself, وَيَدْفَعُ عَنْهَا الضُّرَّ, and to prevent himself from any harm or danger. That is the first reason. Another reason is حَتَّى يَكُونَ أَقْدَرُ عَلَى جَمْعِ الْقُوتِ. So man used to think about his environment, to study his environment, so that he will be able to achieve, to get food for himself. حتى يكون أقدر على جمع القوت, so that it will have power and ability to gather, to collect his food, to find his food, to get his food. Okay? Number three reason why humans used to think or study the things in its environment was, number three, وَالتَّحْصِيلَ الضَّرُورِي, in order to acquire the basic life necessities or the basic necessities of life: clothing, housing, feeding, moving from one place to the other. So man was studying the environment in order to تحصيل الضروري من أسباب الحياة, in order to acquire basic necessities of life. So these are some of the major reasons why man was studying the environment around him, not because of knowledge itself, not because of its particular knowledge or benefit. فَلَمْ تَكُنِ الْمَعْرِفَةُ حِينَ ذَاكَ. So at that time, حِينَ ذَاكَ, في ذلك الوقت, at that particular time, لَمْ تَكُنِ الْمَعْرِفَةُ تُقْصَدُ لِذَاتِهَا. So the knowledge or information was not acquired because of knowledge sake, or for knowledge sake, or for information sake. Okay? أو لإشباع تلك الغريزة المركوزة فيه. So it was not because of satisfying the nature that is central to man. No, it was not for any particular reason. Okay, وهي غريزة حب الاستطلاع. So it was not for the love of reading, of studying. So now people love to read, they love to study, they love to know. So at that particular time, it was not for the love of reading. ولكنه بعد أن دفعت به عجلة الزمن إلى الأمام. But when time pushed man forward, we need to say, as time progressed with man, okay, as time advanced with man, واستطاع أن يحصل قوته بيسر وسهولة, and man was able to acquire his food simply and without any difficulty. وأن يدفع عنه أسباب الخطر. After man was able to prevent himself from dangers, from difficulties, from calamities, from sources of danger, he was able to defend himself and protect himself from dangers, التي تحيط به, that surrounds him. So after acquiring that, أخذ الإنسان يفكر في الموجودات. بدأ الإنسان يفكر. So then man started to think about the creations, because the ta'arruf alayha, with the intention of identifying and knowing exactly what is included in the creation. What are the contents of the creation? What is the meaning and the concept of creation itself? Okay, after fulfilling the basic desire. What was the basic desire? Security of life, security of property, security of mind, okay, defense, okay, being sure that no danger will come to him. So that is the basic. So after acquiring and receiving surety on that, then man man started to think and study about the creation, because the ta'arruf alayha, with the intention and desire to know what is creation itself. لا لإفرارا من الجهل لا فرارا من الجهل ولا جريا وراء منفعة خاصة. Not because he wanted to avoid ignorance, and not because he was chasing behind anything specifically, not because he was looking for anything, just simply because he wanted to know what is knowledge, what is the creation, what are the contents of the creation, what are the components of the creation. مما تكونت الأشياء. ما هي حقيقة الأشياء ومما تكونت الأشياء. So just as simple as that. ولكن لأن معرفة الحقيقة أصبحت عنده الغاية التي ليس وراءها غاية أخرى. So man started to study because he realized that the study and the understanding of the reality and facts about the creation now has been a purpose, has been a very important purpose, okay, behind which there is no any other thing. Meaning to say, man has come to realize that the utmost goal of him alive is to be able to identify what is the nature in which he lives. What is the reality of life that he lives? What is the concept of life that he lives? So, لكن لأن معرفة الحقيقة, so man started studying because he understands that knowing the reality of things أصبحت عنده الغاية, has become a purpose and an objective التي ليس وراءها غاية, that there is beyond which there is no other objective. وهي الغاية التي يريد الحصول عليها لذاتها. So that was the objective and the purpose that he wants to achieve, particularly and specifically. وَلَمْ تُعَدْ وَسِيلَةُ إِلَى شَيْءٍ سِوَاهَا. It was not counted or regarded as a means to achieve any other thing. Just because he wanted to know, because he wanted to search for the knowledge, that was all the purpose and the aim and objective of man at that particular time. Okay, so after securing the basic life means, okay, then life requirements, then the next purpose was to study what knowledge is and what is the reality. Now, so that is the general introduction as to what was the formation and foundation of philosophy. Who can be considered as a philosopher and why? What is philosophy? Okay, and when did it start? As we have seen, philosophy started from the creation of man, from the time man found himself on the surface of the earth. Okay, philosophizing, the act and the habit of thinking and finding solutions to things, started when man landed on the surface of the earth, either through creation or through what Darwin calls evolution, either through creation or through evolution. Since man found himself on the surface of earth, that was the time when philosophy started. Now, we want to focus on something else. The meaning of philosophy, the stages of philosophy, and the names that they call it in all stages. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. What were the names that they called it? Was it all the while called philosophy, or there was a time that it was not called philosophy, but it was rather called another name? What was the name? So that is what we want to know now. Al-falsafa. Ma'naha, marahiluha, wa sumatuha fi kulli marhalatin. Yani, ma'naha fi kulli marhalatin, marahiluha allati marrat biha, wa sumatuha, yani asma'uha fi kulli marhalatin. So what are the definitions given? What are the meanings given to philosophy at each stage that it passed through? What were the various stages through which philosophy has passed through? How many are they? And what was the name that it was called in each stage? So that is what we are going to focus on now. Now, starting with Ta'rif al-Falsafa fil Lugha. Ta'rif al-Falsafa fil Lugha. The linguistic interpretation, the linguistic meaning of philosophy. Okay, the definition of philosophy linguistically in language. Yani when we say philosophy, linguistically, what language is it? Is it English language? Is it Arabic language? Is it Greek language? Is it what language is this? So that is what we want to know. Ta'rif al-falsafa fi al-lugha. So the identification of philosophy from the linguistic aspect, linguistic meaning of philosophy. So to start with, you have studied all this when you were studying Falsafatul Yunaniyya. Okay, so by this, we are not going to waste a lot time here, because these are the same thing that you have studied in Falsafat Yunaniya. So we are going to read through, then we are going to explain generally, and points that are required of explanation we will explain, so that we can move to the other stage. Kalima falsafa laysat Arabiyyatul asli. The word falsafa, okay, philosophy, laysat Arabiyyatul asli, was not originally from Arabic word. Okay? Because now we have ta marbuta at the end. We say Arabiyyatu, okay, Fursanatu, okay, Al-Husanatu. So because Falsafatu also is the same word, no, then we think it is Arabic. No. Kalma falsafa laysat Arabiyyatul asli. It was not originally Arabic. فقد نحتها العرب من كلمتين يونانيتين. The Arab coined it out. They coined it. He coined. C-O-I-N-E-D. That is, they got it, they extracted it. Okay. Okay. فقد نحتها العرب من كلمتين يونانيتين. So the Arab scholars extracted it, they coined it up from two Greek words. إحداهما فيلو ومعناها محبة أو صداقة. So the first word is فيلو. فيلو, philo, P-H-I-L-O. P-H-I-L-O. Philo. ومعناها, the meaning of philo in Greek word is mahabba, love of something. Aw sadaqa, okay, friendship, recognition. So that is the first word. Remember we said فَقَدْ نَحَتَهَا الْعَرَبُ مِنْ كَلِمَتَيْنِ يُونَانِيَّتَيْنِ. The Arabs coined the word falsafa from two Greek words. The first of them is philo, and the second, wathaniya, Sophia. And the second word is Sophia. Sophie. S-O-P-H-Y. Sophie. So the second one is Sophie, and the meaning is al-hikmah. It means al-hikmah. Al-hikmah bimana al-ilmu, al-marifa, knowledge, information, wisdom. So by this, if we combine the two Greek words together, philosophia, then it will give us, okay, which is mahabba and hikmah. So both of them will give us mahabbatul hikmah. So fatakunu al-falsafa ibaratun an mahabbatul hikmati. So therefore, So philosophy will be the concept of, or the expression of, the love for knowledge, love of knowledge, love of hikmah, of wisdom, love of information. So in other words, in a very plain English, seeking for knowledge. Talabul ilmi, talabul ma'rifa, seeking for knowledge, searching for information. So that is what the word falsafa means. It was derived from two Greek words, philo and sophia, to both of which means mahabba and hikmah. So when we combine both of them together, then we have falsafa equals to mahabbatul hikmah. So based on that interpretation, similarly, philosoph, okay, philosoph, kalma philosoph, because falsafa was not Arabiya to asli, then philosoph also was also not Arabiya to asli. Philosopher was also not originally Arabic. فهي ترجع إلى كلمتين يونانيتين أيضا. It also came from two Greek words. إحداهما philos والثانية sophos. So the first word is philos, P-H-I-L-O-S, philos, philos. So then the second word is sophos, S-O-P-H-U-S, sophos. Okay, so then it becomes philosophos. And خوفا من التقاء سينين, because of meeting of two S. We have philos, in philos we have end of it is S. So first, the beginning of it is S. So then we want to combine the philosophos together. So that is when we bring iltiqa and khawfa min iltiqa isakineni, so we udghima sinan fi sin. Fasarat philosophos, philosophos, philosophos. وبامترار الآيام خففت النطق فصارت philosophers, philosophers, philosophers. So it became mushaddad, tashdid sin, philosophers, philosophers. But with the time, so we drop the shadda. So then the sin becomes takhfif, mukhaffafa. So it becomes philosophers, 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 philosophers. Then it becomes philosopher, philosopher, philosopher. Okay? So ihdahuma philos. The first word is philos, which means muhibbu, muhibbu, aw raghibu, aw sahibu, aw talibu. Are we here? Muhibbu shay'in, raghibu fi shay', talibu shay'. That is the meaning of philos. Then the second root is sophos, which means hikmah, aw ma'rifa, aw ilma. So by this, philosophos becomes muhibbul hikmati, raghibu fil hikmah, talibul hikmah. So that is where we have talibul ilmi. student. So philosopher is a student of knowledge, seeker of the knowledge. Okay, huwa muhibbul hikmah, so becomes the lover of wisdom. Ar-raghibu fil ma'rifah, the one who search for knowledge, who have interest in knowledge. So that is when we come to realize, okay, a student, talibul ilmu, okay, seeker for knowledge, okay, is also a philosopher. Okay, وقد نحت منه العرب كلمة فيلسوف التي صارت نعتا لأولئك الراغبين في المعرفة المحاولين تبين الحقائق. So the Arab scholars, they extracted philosoph from the word philosophers. So philosoph was extraction of philosophers as التي صارت نعتا لأولئك الراغبين في المعرفة, as an attribute, as an adjective for those who seek knowledge. المحاولين تبين الحقائق, those who want to know about the clarification of the reality, about the truth of things. So by this, philosoph was an extraction of philosophers, okay, so which means طالب العلم, محب المعرفة, الراغب في الحكمة. Okay, so in a very simple English, philosopher, okay, is a student of knowledge, searcher of knowledge and information. Okay, so وبعد أن دخلت كلمة الفلسفة والفيلسوف في اللغة العربية. Now, after falsafa as محبة الحكمة or طلب العلم, and philosoph as محب الحكمة أو طالب العلم, so when both of them have been brought into Arabic language, يعني بعد دخول الفلسفة والفيلسوف في اللغة العربية, after the importation of falsafa and philosophy in Arabic language, صار العرب من ذلك الفعل بأنواعه. So then the Arab scholars, they formed various kinds of verbs from it. Then they say تفلسف على وزن تفعل. تفلسف يتفلسف. تفلسف, okay, تفلسف الرجل يتفلسف الطالب. تفلسف أيها الرجل. So they formed various stages and aspects of verbs in it. Al-Madi, Al-Mudari'a, Al-Amru. They also form from it Ismul Fa'il. They have Mutafalisifu. Mutafalisifu, Mutafalisifa, Mutafalisifu Talibu, Mutafalisifa Taliba. Okay? So, كما جعلوا الحكمة مرادفة للفلسفة. And in synonymously, they used the word al-hikmah synonymous to al-falsafa. So when they say al-hikmah, they mean al-falsafa. When they say al-falsafa, they mean al-hikmah. فقالوا حكماء الإسلام بمعنى falasifatul Islam. So when they say Hukama'ul Islam, Muslim sages, so what they mean is falasifatul Islam, Muslim philosophers. ولم تستعمل كلمة فلسفة عند اليونان إلا منذ القرن السادس قبل الميلاد. Now, the word philosophy, philosophers, was not used in Greek, among the Greek people, until the 6th century BC. Okay? The word philosophy was not known among the Greek people until the 6th century BC. And when it was introduced in the 6th century BC, لم يكن معناها محددا ولا مضبوطا في أول الأمر. It did not have a specific meaning or a concise meaning at the beginning, in the beginning. Yani, in the 6th century BC, when it was first introduced, there was no specific meaning for it. بل كانت تشمل كل ثقافة إنسانية أيا كان موضوع هذه الثقافة. Rather, it comprised all human civilizations. Okay? بل كانت تشمل كل ثقافة إنسانية. It was used generally for human civilization. أيا كان موضوع هذه الثقافة. No matter what type of civilization it is. وكانت تشمل كل رغبة في الإسلام. So it comprises all areas of reading and studies. Okay? كما كانت تشمل كل رغبة في الإسلام. It comprises, it has all meanings of reading, studies, research, generally. وكان الفلاسفة وكان الفلاسفة إلى عهد سقراط يدعون بالسوفست. Okay? Until the time of Socrates, okay, إلى عهد سقراط, until the time of Socrates, كان الفلاسفة يدعون بالسوفست. The philosophers referred themselves as the sophists. Okay, I type it. Sophist. Until the time of Socrates, the previous philosophers were calling themselves and referring to themselves as the sophists. Now, the meaning of sophist is al-hukama, al-ulama al-tabi'iyyin, أو al-uqala. Al-uqala al-mutabassirina الذين أتقنوا فن القول وفن السير في الحياة بنجاح. Okay? The philosophers until the time of Socrates were claiming to be sophists, meaning hukama, sages. Okay, sages, S-A-G-E-S. Ulama ut-tabi'iyyin, naturalist. Naturalist. Okay, ulama الطبيعة. Okay, nature scholar, natural scholar, naturalist. أو العقلاء المتبصرين. They used to call themselves the experienced rationals. الذين أتقنوا فن القول. Those who were experienced in act of speaking, in art of speaking, وفن السير في الحياة بالنجاة, and the art of telling stories of life. So they continued like that حتى إذا ما جاء سقراط, until the time of Socrates. When Socrates came, حمله تواضعه على أن يقول, based on his humility and humbleness. His humility and humbleness made him to declare to people that إنني لست sophist وإنما أنا philosophus. I am not a sophist, as the people that you know before. Please don't address me as a sophist. وإنما أنا philosophus. So rather, I am a philosopher. Yani, I'm just a student of knowledge. Sophist, the meaning is that those who claim the custody of knowledge, those who claim to know everything about life and creation, those who claim to be the teacher, those who claim to know everything that have no teacher. So those are the sophists. So based on the humility and humbleness of Socrates, he declared himself not to be a sophist. Rather, he identified himself as a sophist, okay, philosophers, as a philosopher, meaning, إنني لست بحكيم ولكنني محب للحكمة فحسب. So in simple Arabic language, he said that I am not a Sig. I am not a Sig. I'm not a Hakim. Rather, I'm just a simple lover of knowledge. Muhibbun lil hikmah. Fahasiba. As simple as that. I'm just a simple and a common lover of knowledge. Meaning, I'm a common student of knowledge, seeker of knowledge. So ويرجح بعض الباحثين أن أقدم سفر يوناني توجد فيه كلمة فلسفة بمعنى الرغبة في المعرفة هو كتاب هيرودوت المؤرخ الشهير، حيث يروى أن كروسوس قال للسولون أحد الحكماء السبعة إنني سمعت أنك جبت كثير من الأقطار okay متفلسفا أي بقصد التأمل والنظر. Now, that is about the kalima of falsafa and philosoph and sophist. Now, another point here is, when was the first time that the word philosophy was used in Greek language? What was the first time the word philosophy was introduced into Greek society? Okay. According to some researchers, يرجحون, they maintain that some researchers say that أن أقدم سفر يوناني, the ancient, the oldest Greek literature, وإن شئت فقل أقدم كتاب يوناني, the oldest Greek book, توجد فيه كلمة فلسفة, where we see the word philosophy, where we find the word philosophy, بمعنى الرغبة في المعرفة, with the connotation of desire for knowledge, seeking for knowledge, is Kitabu Herodot, the book of Herodot. Now, who was Herodot? هو المؤرخ الشهير. He was a famous historian. Okay? He was a famous historian. حيث يروي أن Croesus, he was narrating a story about Croesus. So this Croesus, that he said, he narrated that Croesus was asking and talking to another scholar by the name Solon. Croesus was talking to Solon, and Solon was one of the 7 sages, 7 scholars. So Croesus was asking Solon this question: إني سمعت أنك جبت كثير من الأقطار. جبت بمعنى سافرت إلى كثير من الأقطار. I heard that you have traveled to many places. Okay? I heard people saying that you have traveled to many places متفلسفا, as a philosopher. Yani philosophizing. Philosophizing yani because the ta'ammuli wa nazar, with the aim of studying and thinking. With the aim of thinking and studying. التأمل يعني التفكر العميق, والنظر يعني الدراسة. So I heard that جبت كثير من الأقطار. أقطار يعني البلاد. I heard that you have traveled to a lot of places philosophizing, meaning seeking for knowledge. So now, in that record, it was in that record that we found the first usage of the word falsafa. Okay, that is number 1. Another historians, okay, historians of philosophy, يروا أن هذه الكلمة قد جرت على ألسنة فيثاغورس وبركليس. And we have some historians of philosophy who say that the kalma al-falsafa jarat ala al-sunat Pythagoras wa Brickless wa Socrates, that the word philosophy was used by Pythagoras, Brickless, and Socrates. حيث نسب هؤلاء المؤرخون إلى Pythagoras أنه قال. So in a sense that those historians, they traced to Pythagoras, okay, they related to Pythagoras that he said, لا حكيم إلا lillahi wahdahu. Okay? La hakimun illa Allahu wahdahu. Wa innamal insanu failasufun fa'asiba. So they traced this statement to Pythagoras. They said, Pythagoras say, Pythagoras, P Y T H A G O R A S, Pythagoras. Pythagoras is spelled with R A S, and some people spell it with R U S. Okay? R U S. Pythagoras or Pythagoras. So where he said, La hakimu illallah wahdahu. There is no sig, there is no one who is wise except God alone. Only God can be called Hakim. Wa innama insan, but man, philosoph fahad, is just an ordinary philosoph. So with the understanding that philosoph is muhibbul hikmah, talibul hikmah. Okay? كما عزوا إلى سقراط أنه أطلق على منهجه كلمة فلسفة. So they also traced to Socrates that he called his methodology as a philosophy. Okay? وإلى بريكلس أنه قال نحن نتفلسف بدون حوادث. So they also traced to Pericles that he said that نحن نتفلسف بدون حوادث. We philosophize without levity. Without levity, that is to say, without playing with our life. Okay, I mean to say, we study philosophy seriously. نحن نتفلسف بدون هوادة. ولعلك قد أدركت مما سبق أن Pythagoras هو أول من استعمل كلمة الفلسفة. So from the previous explanation, you could get that, you could deduce that Pythagoras was the first person to use the word al-falsafa. Okay, al-falsafa. وَجَعَلَ مَعْنَاهَا مَحَبَّةُ الْحِكْمَةِ. And he made the meaning, he said the meaning of falsafa is mahabbatul hikmah. كما استعمل كلمة الفيلسوف. And Pythagoras was also, he also used the word philosoph, yani philosophers. وَجَعَلَ مَعْنَاهَا مُحِبُّ الْحِكْمَةِ. And he said the meaning of that is muhibbul hikmah, the lover of hikmah. كما أدركت كذلك أن سقراط قد فعل مثل ذلك. So you also understand from the previous discussion that Socrates also said the same thing. He said falsafa is mahabbatul hikmah and philosoph is philosophos muhibbul hikmah. Okay. So you also note that Socrates also used the same concept. Okay, al-falsafa, meaning mahabbatul hikmah, philosophos, meaning muhibbul hikmah. Okay. وكان ذلك منه تمييزا له عن فعل السوفسطائيين. So Socrates used those two words to differentiate himself from the activity of the sophists. الذين كانوا يتجرون بالحكمة. Those who used to trade and get money with knowledge. ويبيعون المعرفة للناس. Those who used to sell knowledge and information to people by taking money from them بالثمن. ومنذ زمن فيثاغورس أو سقراط أخذ المفكرون يطلقون على أنفسهم اسم الفلاسفة بمعنى محبي الحكمة بدلا من الحكماء sophists. So from the time of Pythagoras or from the time of Socrates, the thinkers of that time, they started identifying themselves as philosophers, okay? Meaning the lovers of hikmah, instead of calling themselves the sages, S-A-G-E-S, instead of calling themselves sophists, they identified themselves as a philosopher, meaning muhibbul hikmah, lovers of knowledge. وقد كانت كلمة السوفوس هذه تطلق في الأصل على كل من كمل في شيء عقليا كان أو ماديا. So the word sophos, okay, from the inception originally was used for anyone who is perfect, okay, in any rational activity or any material activity, okay, in business, in anything. To anyone who is excellent in anything, they call him sophos. فأطلقوها على الموسيقي. So they used sophos as, so they use it for their musicians. Watahi, they use it for their cooks. The people who cook for them. One Najar, they use sophos for the carpenters. Carpenters, those who carve images from trees. وغيرهم من أرباب الحرف والصناعات. So they use sophos for anyone who has any artistic work. ولكنها قد قصرت بعد ذلك على من منح عقلا راقيا. But after some time, so they use the word sophos specifically for someone من منح عقلا وافي راقيا, anyone who was blessed with the gift of high rationality, okay, or intellectual capacity. So that is the linguistic meaning and concept of al-falsafa. Now, تعريف الفلسفة اصطلاحا, the conceptual definition of philosophy. The conceptual definition of philosophy. So this is where problem starts. Linguistically, we have no problem and no argument as to what philosophy is. Almost every historian and scholars and researchers agree that philosophy is mahabbatul hikmah. And it stems from two Greek words, philo and sophia. So the same is applicable to al-philosoph. But the conceptual meaning, so the detailed meaning, the meaning of philosophy in detail, is still ahead. So there are some issues because there is no universal definition for philosophy. So we can only define philosophy according to the stage, okay, according to each stage and according to each scholar. and according to the problem of the era, of the stage in which that philosophy was found. So by this, لا يمكن لباحث في الفلسفة أن يأتي لها بتعريف يحدد معناها بحيث يكون جامعا مانعا شاملا لها في جميع العصور والأطوار التي مرت بها منذ بدء الإنسان يفكر تفكيرا فلسفيا حتى اليوم. It is by that, it is impossible for any researcher in philosophy, for any student of philosophy or any scholar of philosophy to come up with a concise definition, okay, to prove, okay, to give a general definition of philosophy بحيث يكون جامعا مانعا, that will be complete, inclusive, and concise and comprehensive of every meaning that it has في جميع العصور, at all eras, والأطوار, and at all stages التي مرت بها, that philosophy has passed through منذ بدء الإنسان يفكر تفكيرا فلسفيا حتى اليوم, from when man started thinking philosophically until nowadays. So meaning to say that it is impossible for anyone to give a comprehensive definition of philosophy that will be acceptable to everyone at all time and all eras of philosophy. It's not possible. وذلك لأن التعريفات تؤخذ غالبا من الموضوع الذي يتناوله العلم. The reason is because definitions are taken and derived mostly from the focus that is from the focus of a particular knowledge, from a subject, from the scope that is concentrated upon by a particular knowledge. So a definition of a subject will be given about according to the area of that knowledge. So والفلسفة بالذات من المواد التي لم تقف مباحثها عند حد معين. So philosophy, particularly as a subject, is something, is a subject that is not particular about a specific focus. Meaning to say, philosophy is one of the subjects that is not specific on a particular subject, on a particular area or discipline. بحيث يكون موضوعا لها, in a way that it will become a scope or a discipline or a concern for that knowledge. يتناوله الفلاسفة في عصورهم المختلفة منذ نشأة الفلسفة حتى عصرنا هذا. So that it will become a scope and specification that is studied by all philosophers through various eras, from the inception and development of philosophy until now. So ذلك أن كل عصر من العصور التي مرت بها الفلسفة كان الفلاسفة يتناولون فيه موضوعا خاصا. So, and the reason why we cannot have a comprehensive definition is because each era of philosophy, يعني كل عصر من العصور التي مرت بها الفلسفة. So, in each era of philosophy, كان الفلاسفة يتناولون فيه موضوعا خاصا. The philosophers of that particular era used to focus on a specific area يتفق وطابع هذا العصر that is relevant to that particular era. بل إن هذا الموضوع كان يختلف في العصر الواحد باختلاف الفلاسفة أنفسهم. Even the areas of philosophy of each era differ from one philosopher to another philosopher. وتباين نزاعاتهم في التفكير. So by that, the philosophers themselves, they have differences of opinions and ideas in their thought. ووجود عوامل خاصة, and there used to be a specific feature تجعلهم يتجحرون إلى جهة معينة أو معينة في البحث. So they have specific factors that make them يتجهون to direct their attention towards a specific study. So لذلك كان موضوع الفلسفة متغيرا دائما متطورا بتطور العصور. And this was the reason why the areas of philosophy and the scope of philosophy changes always change and always advance and change when the time change. واختلافها فهو ضيق محدود حينا. Sometimes it becomes limited, ضيق, very close and limited sometimes, and some other time واسع متشعب النواحي. It becomes so wide with various directions متعدد الفروع حينا آخر, and some other time it has various branches. ولهذا كان من الطبيعي, and by this it is natural that because philosophy always changes, so it is natural أن يتغير تعريفها تبعا لتغير موضوعها. So it is natural that the definition of philosophy will change when the scope of philosophy changes. وأن يختلف في عصر ما عما كان عليه في عصر سابق. And it is natural that the definition of philosophy will be different in a particular era from a previous era. وأما سيكون عليه في عصر لاحق. And it is natural that the definition of philosophy will be different from the future era. Okay? So الأمر الذي ترتب عليه أننا لا نجد تعريفا جامعا مانعا للفلسفة. So this makes us to say that, okay, أننا لا نجد تعريفا جامعا مانعا للفلسفة, that it will be impossible for us to find an inclusive definition for philosophy. يحدد معناها تحديدا تاما, that we comprise of all the meanings. ويوضح معالمها توضيحا شاملا, and that will be able to clarify all the areas of philosophy in all eras. في جميع العصور. So there is no such definition. So by this, وعلى هذا فلا مناص لنا لكي نعرف الفلسفة تعريفا صحيحا من أن نجعل لها تعاريف متعددة. So there is no other option. There is no option for us. In order for us to be able to identify and define philosophy in an accurate way, so the only thing that we can do is أن نجعل لها تعاريف متعددة, to give various definitions for it in a way that يكون كل تعريف مشتق من موضوع الذي تناولته الفلسفة في كل عصر من أصولها. So in a way that each definition will be derived from the scope, from the areas that was studied and focused upon in each era, okay, in each of the eras of the philosophy. وَلَدَيْ كُلِّ فِيلَسُوفٍ اشْتَغَلَ بِهَا, and according to each philosopher that has contributed anything in philosophy. وَهَذَا بِدَوْرِهِ يَقْتَضِينَا أَن نُبَيِّنَ الْمَرَاحِلَ الَّتِي مَرَّتْ بِهَا الْفَلْسَفَةُ قَدِيمًا وَحَدِيثًا. And this will necessitate us to clarify and explain the various stages that was passed through by philosophy, both in the ancient era and in the modern era, from the ancient until the modern. وأن نستعرض الموضوعات التي تناولها الفلاسفة في كل مرحلة. And this will make us to study the areas that were offered, that were discussed by philosophers في كل مرحلة, at each era of philosophy, حتى يمكننا أن نعرف الفلسفة بحدها تعريفا صحيحا, so that we will be able to define philosophy according to that era specifically. So by this, we are going to talk about مراحل الفلسفة أو العصور التي مرت بها الفلسفة, the eras that were passed through by philosophy at each era. So by this, we start with تعريف الفلسفة عند القدماء, the definition of philosophy according to the ancient scholars, ancient philosophers, according to the ancient time. And that, inshallah, will be the starting discussion for the class tomorrow, inshallah. We are going to stop here for today, for this class. So just to tell you and inform you that the recording is for all sections. Usuluddin Studio A, Usuluddin Studio B, Usuluddin Counseling Studio A, Usuluddin Counseling Studio B, for all sections. So that means tomorrow's class recording is also for you. All right? So, but you may not have to attend the class, but when we send the recordings, you will have to access it. So we are stopping for your class at this point today. So we start from this point for the tomorrow class. And wherever we stop for tomorrow class, we start with after tomorrow class. So that is how we are going to do the online discussion until we come back to the physical class, inshallah. So بهذا نكتفي. أستودعكم ونفسي في رعاية الله الذي لا يضيع ودائعه. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.